Hi, my name is Aaron. I am a librarian from the Christian County Library. Welcome to our author discussion with Carol Shackleford. Carol is the author of The Underwater Window. Thanks so much for being here, Carol.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I read The Underwater Window. I thought it was a great book. I wonder, could you give us a little bit of a summary of the book without maybe giving away too much to anybody watching at home?
That's the hard part, is not giving away too much.
Right.
It's an action adventure suspense novel. It takes place in two different locations, and two boys, Lincoln and Jacob, end up meeting by accident and kind of revealing the secrets that the town has had for quite some time.
Yeah, so it kind of touches on several different genres. When I was reading it, I almost kind of thought of it as a YA novel when I was reading it. That's kind of the feeling that I got from it, that it was almost, I think anybody could definitely enjoy the book. It's a great kind of mystery, but like you said, also a bit of an action novel, but also kind of character driven. But did you intend it for any particular audience, or do you know?
When I initially wrote it, I intended it for young teenagers. The two main characters are 13, but I don't know any 13-year-olds who read it, but I know that everyone who has, who's anywhere from 20 to 80, they all liked it. So it's kind of just an easy read. I think pretty much anybody would enjoy a couple hours of just getting away from real life and seeing what's going on in blue water.
Yes. So, and I did notice like a lot of the perspective is from these younger boys in the town of Blue Water and in the other zone. We won't say too much about that. So their names were, I believe, Jacob and Mike, Lincoln. Those are some of the perspectives. I was just wondering, with them and other characters in the book, did you base them on anyone in particular? It always kind of interests me. Where do you get your ideas for your characters?
Investigator, also known as Uncle Richie in the book, is actually based on my brother, who was a police investigator in Minnesota, and he's now a fire marshal for the state of Minnesota. But a lot of the character traits that he has I kind of based it off of my brother, partly because I knew my brother would read the book and he might get a kick out of it.
Oh, definitely.
There's a part in there where I wrote about his sister washing the car with SOS pads when she was a child, which I actually did. So he really got a kick out of that part of the book, and he knows, our family knows that actually did happen. So.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. Yes, I remember that part of the book, and just like, oh my parents would have killed me.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Also, the town. So you live in Nixa, it says on your book, so you're a local author. I wondered, did you base the town of Blue Water or any of these locations in the book on areas around here, or is this just pure imagination?
It's mainly my imagination, but I wanted to not be very specific so that whoever was reading the book might know of a place where it would remind them of a spot so they could picture it more in their mind. I did grow up in a town that had a lake in the middle of it, and so, yeah, and there were, in Minnesota, 10,000 lakes. So, I mean, the lake part was pretty easy to write about.
Right.
The other part of it, not so much. I just kind of had to make that part up. So.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think, like, for example, I don't think it gives too much away to say there is a cave in the novel that plays a large place. There are people living in that cave. Yeah. Did you base that on any particular place, or?
No particular place that I have been, but my husband delivers groceries, and he has told me about the cave. I think it's actually Craft, where you have to go underground, and I mean, it's obviously big enough to drive semi trucks down there and stuff. So I had this idea in my mind of what it might be like. And so I did base it kind of off of what I pictured in my mind that cave to look like.
Yes, I think I know that. I think it may be called the Springfield Underground. I think I might know that you're speaking of. My dad also drove trucks down there. That's kind of what he did for a living, working with Dairy Farmers America. So I can kind of picture that. And just hearing you say that actually brings it, that makes a lot of sense for that location. But the other thing I was going to ask about was the yellow zone. So these people who live kind of separate from the main town featured in the novel, they're kind of separate from society. They're shut off from everybody. There's a definite sense of isolation, a literal sense. And I was just thinking about that because this came out, I believe you published this last year, was it September?
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, what came to my mind was COVID and all the time of quarantining and all of that. So I wondered, was that at all a part of your process or inspiration for writing?
When I started writing this book 6 years ago, so it didn't have anything, it kind of coincidence. It kind of seems like I could have been. No, but I guess to me, the yellow zone, like every story kind of has to have a bad guy. So that's what keeps the story interesting, I guess, is to wonder who they are and, when they're going to pop up and cause the problem, I guess.
Oh yeah, definitely. It came to my mind because I think a lot of people reading it at this point, that's kind of what's going to come to their mind of had this long period where, we kind of had to stay to ourselves and social distance and all of that. Mm-hmm. But also I was wondering, did you use that time for writing or working on the book at all? Or I know you've said you've been working on this for, off and on for years, but
I started writing it about 6 years ago, and I would just sit down once in a while and try to make myself work on it. And it was probably when COVID started, March or April. I don't work from outside of home, so I didn't necessarily have more time, but it felt like I had more time. So I thought, I really want to get the book done, and I set myself a goal to try to get it done by the end of the year. And I sat down and just really, it's not easy. It wasn't easy for me to write it because it usually didn't just come naturally for me. But it was a goal to finish it, and I did. So,
well, yeah, I mean, we're all the better for it. It was an enjoyable book, and I really enjoyed it. But I was wondering, you were talking about your process as a writer, going back and forth with it and writing. When you start writing the novel, do you have a kind of idea of where it's going to go? Do you have it plotted out in your mind, or is it usually kind of just go as you figure it out as you go along?
Both, but initially, what started it, the very beginning of the book, about 6 years ago, I had a dream that had happened. And I kept thinking about it for a long time. Usually I forget my dreams as soon as I wake up. And I kept thinking, man, that would really make a good book. And so finally, just to get it off my mind, I tried to just start writing. I wrote maybe half of a chapter. And then it sat for a while, and I would look back and try to work on it. And I would just sit down at the computer and think, okay, well, where's it going to go today? And then the difference this year, when I started doing that, and it does become hard and it gets frustrating because my mind goes in so many different directions that I'm not really sure which way to go. And so when I started working on it this year, I made an outline and thought through what I wanted to happen and how I wanted, certain events that I wanted to happen. And that made it go a lot faster because I followed my outline instead of just sitting there going, let's see, I wonder what should happen now. So I had a way to get to the end. It's just a matter of filling in the blanks along the way.
Okay, so I could see that would be helpful. But yeah, I'm not a writer at all. I have kind of an English background, so wrote a bit in college, but now work in a library. But I just wonder what drives people to start writing. I mean, I know people just love to do it, but it said on the back of your book, I believe, that you had a background in bookkeeping. So what kind of drove you to want to start writing this book, or just writing in general?
I used to pretty like once a month I would write my family letters because I lived in Missouri and they lived in Minnesota back before Snapchat and all the other stuff they have now. And I would send pictures of the kids when they were born and update everybody on what was going on in a letter form. And I did that once a month for 15 years. And people my aunts and uncles and my grandparents would tell me about how much they enjoyed my letters. And so I just started thinking one day, well, maybe I could write something that other people would enjoy too. So that's what kind of made me think I would be able to. And it just would kind of come to me. And I think about it a lot, like when how the story will go. And there probably will be a second book because I have so many ideas in my head of different things that could happen in the next one. So.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, if you were planning on a sequel or any kind of follow-up. Left it open. Okay. So, I mean, like you said, I think from the book I read, I could definitely see this going in all kinds of different directions.
Right.
So, so what was the process from getting this in your imagination and on page? That's one thing, but could you talk a little bit about what it was like to actually get this in book form? And then it's also available digitally. I know you can get this online as well. What was that like?
That was the hardest part by far. And I guess the process, I finished it on the computer. And along the way, I would once in a while print out some pages and I would send them with my husband to work for him to read through and give me ideas if he saw anything that he thought, would maybe be better a different way. But then at the end, I printed it out and I went through page by page and edited it by myself. And, a couple times I'd mix up Lincoln or Jacob or put Simon instead, they had the wrong name or something, I thought it would sound better worded a different way. And when I got that done, I researched the best way because I didn't write the book to become a famous author. I wrote the book kind of for something to do, but also because I enjoy knowing that other people might enjoy reading it. And the people that, I know that have read it and enjoyed it, they said, oh, it made me not think about anything else except what was going on in the book, which I think right now, especially, people can use a break from reality.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And so I wanted to publish it, but I didn't want to spend a bunch of money doing it. And the best way that I found to do that was to go to KDP, which is Amazon's publishing company. It's called Kindle Direct Publishing. And it doesn't cost anything for it to be on there. They have to approve it. And actually before that, and I don't know if you have to do this, but I had it copyrighted, which that was hard too. It's a big process, but it's not really hard if you know what you're doing. And by the time I do it again, I'll have forgotten how I did it. So, but I got it copyrighted, and then I got on the website, and you just have to download it into an approved format, which there too. I didn't know what I was doing. So it took a long time trying to figure out how to get it into that size of a book and the pages would be off. And so the formatting was kind of difficult, but I don't know how. One time I clicked on it and it actually just worked. So, and then you pick like the kind of paper you want and the page numbers and the color of paper. And then the other hard part was you have to do the cover yourself. And since a lot of things are copyrighted, you can't just pick something off of the internet and use it as your book cover. So I actually, the book cover is from my son's camera of a picture that he had taken at Springfield Lake, or the lake up north of Springfield a little ways. So it's actually from around here, the book cover. It makes it look like it's not really a kid's book. So I would have maybe preferred to do it a different way, but I didn't know how. So,
well, I noticed the lake on the front of it, and I was going to ask where that was, if that was somewhere local, but
it is.
Okay.
Right up north of Springfield. But you can go in at any time and edit, change the picture, change, if there's anything in there you want to change, you can. And then they just take a portion of a pretty big cut of an ebook or Kindle. But then if they publish it, it's actually even a smaller percentage that I get from doing that.
Okay. Well, it has to be exciting though to see your book out there and available to people, and I think that will be helpful information for a lot of people who are local who might want to write a book and get it out there, but really don't know where to start. So
it only took 2 days for it to get approved, and then it's just there. So, and then what I did was I went into the different libraries, the school libraries and Christian in Greene County, and asked if they would put one in their libraries, and everybody did.
Yeah, I'll definitely be talking it up and letting people know that it's there. But since we are librarians here in Christian County, we're always kind of looking at readers advisory sort of things. I was wondering, are there any other kind of books that we would say are kind of similar to yours, that if people enjoy these, they might enjoy your book, or even just something else that you would recommend?
Well, I probably have never actually read many books like this. Maybe when I was reading books with my kids when they were younger, but I like mystery and suspense. I read Mary Higgins Clark. I've always thought her books are really good. I like books where it's always like a surprise what happens. Not that through the whole book you're going, oh, I wonder what's going to happen, because it's predictable.
Sure.
So I like Mary Higgins Clark. I like, easy reading stuff like Richard Paul Evans and Nicholas Sparks. But then, about 5 years ago, I tried to make myself, because it's not that enjoyable for me, but to read some classics like The Trial and Pride and Prejudice and The Alchemist's Daughter. And they're a little harder, take a little longer to read, but I really like reading just about anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were talking about some of those other mystery authors, and I can see elements of those, I think, in your novel, and the idea of it's definitely a surprise ending. It almost ends up being something like an action movie to me at the end of that book. So it gets really exciting. So I definitely recommend The Underwater Window to our patrons. I'll definitely be passing that along to anybody who comes into the library.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for talking with me today, Carol. It's been great. Definitely check out The Underwater Window. That's available from Christian County Library. So thanks again. If you have any more questions, do contact the library, and do watch our calendar online for any other upcoming online programs like this. We have author discussions now and then. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.